guys, it's over here, and today I have a special guest with me, Teshia Maher.
Hi everybody!
She is an incredibly talented yoga instructor and a nutritionist, and Teshia has been vegan for 10 years now, right?
I have.
And today she's going to share with us her top 10 tips on becoming vegan. Some of you might know I was vegan last year for about 4 or 5 months, and I did it because I was actually really sick at the time, and I was able to cure my sickness just by changing my diet. And then after that I went back to being a pescatarian, but for 2014 I'm actually planning on going back to vegan. I don't know if it's going to be permanent or if I'm going to do it just for a couple of months, we'll see, but I'm definitely looking forward to learn some tips from Teshia. Let's just get started.
So before I get into the things that I would like to share with you, I just want to comment on what you just said there. It's good to approach your diet as something that's going to change. It's going to change with the different stages of your life. It's going to change, maybe perhaps with the season. There's nothing that has to remain black or white. It's good to try things. It's good to try different things and really discover what works for you. If you've been doing the same thing since the time you were born, you might not even know how much better you could potentially feel with a different variation to your diet. So my first tip is, actually I would suggest to do it relatively slowly. When you start to reduce processed foods, which tends to happen as you move towards a vegan diet, and as you certainly eliminate foods that are quite mucus forming, like meat and dairy and cheese and these kinds of things, often what happens is the body goes through a little bit of a healing crisis or a little bit of a detox. And if you do that too dramatically, too quickly, it can overwhelm you sometimes, and it can make you feel a little bit lousy. So if you start to eat a ton of cleansing foods right off the bat, you might start to feel headachy or nausea or anything like this. Say go slowly and just know and be aware that it's normal to feel those kinds of things, and that those things might come up for you, and once you move through them, you're likely going to feel really, really fantastic. So that's the first thing. As you're transitioning slowly, also be wary of fiber. Make sure that you increase your fiber relatively slowly, which again kind of goes with the same thing. If you start to add tons of vegetables and fruits and beans and whole grains and chia seeds and flax and everything all at once, you are going to feel bloated and maybe even constipated, and yeah. So as you increase your fiber intake, increase the water at the same time. So if you're doing tons and tons and tons of fiber, especially the fibers like the grains and the flax and those drier fibers, if you don't have enough water, you could actually become constipated, which sounds very contradictory to a plant-based diet. So my third tip with regards to transitioning with ease towards a vegan lifestyle, be very careful with the amount of processed foods that you're eating. So sometimes what happens is people decide, I'm not going to eat eggs anymore, I'm not going to eat meat, I'm not going to eat these animal-based foods, and they don't know what to eat. So they start to eat lots of, for example, soy burgers and these different processed soy foods and processed, cereals and different things. So if you are transitioning to a vegan diet and you want to do it in a way that's really going to serve your health and make you feel great, the foundation of your diet should truly be vegetables, not grains or beans or soy. You can have obviously those foods in a vegan diet, but make the foundation fruits and vegetables and nuts and seeds, so those really, really pure plant-based foods. So my fourth tip is with regards to really high-calorie rich vegan foods, so things like nut butters. So again, when people make the transition, sometimes they're like, I don't know what to eat, I'm so hungry, I don't want to eat the meat, what can I do? And one thing that people often turn to is nut butters, like almond butter and peanut butter and cashew butter or whatever. And again, these have their place, and I love almond butter, and I probably have almond butter, a little bit of it, a tablespoon or so every single day. It's one of my favorite foods. There is a tendency for people to get really hungry because they didn't know what to eat, or they didn't plan properly, or they didn't know. So again, educating yourself first is key. And then they can just, stick the spoon in the almond butter, and before they know it, they've eaten like half the jar. And that's really going to be difficult on your digestive system. It's going to be taxing to your liver to digest all that fat. Even though it's good fat, it's still probably a little bit too much. Definitely go easy on nuts and nut butters. Measure your quantities or your portions. So a good portion of almond butter or nut butter per day might be like 1 or 2 tablespoons. Okay. So measure it out, plop it onto a plate, as opposed to just eating out of the jar. With regards to nuts, it varies depending on how much other fats you're having, but you know, a good portion of nuts per serving would probably be like 25 almonds, something like that. So just ballpark, but it's good with regards to really high calorie things sometimes to portion it out. Yeah. Because otherwise, before you know it, it can kind of get out of control. My 5th tip is with regards to fruit. Now, fruit, of course, again, is an amazing, amazing food, and I'm not here to tell you not to eat fruit, but too much fruit, tons and tons and tons of fruit all day long, can sometimes be imbalancing to people because some people do tend to be more sensitive in terms of blood sugar. And even though the sugar in fruit is good sugar, it's still a lot of sugar. If you're eating an entire papaya at one sitting, which isn't unheard of, some people actually do that, that's a ton of sugar. I don't know how much it is, I'm actually afraid to know, but it's a lot. Be careful with the fruit if you know, especially, that you are sensitive to sugar. Enjoy fruit, especially if you live in like Costa Rica and you can pick it from a tree. This is a different story. The fruit in Canada, in Toronto, it tends to be a little bit less mineral rich because most of it we're getting from California and it's coming across on a boat or a plane. So take that into account too. Take your demographics into account. But as a general rule, I would say have a few pieces a day. But I wouldn't personally necessarily eat a whole papaya at one time. I think it might just be too much sugar, might be. Unless you're like crazy athlete and you're gonna be like burning that. But if you're sitting in an office all day and you're eating 10 pieces of fruit, I don't know. Too much sugar in my opinion. My 6th tip for transitioning to a vegan diet is, I think I already mentioned it actually, individualize your diet. Use a food journal as a diagnostic tool. Keep a food journal every day for 3 or 4 days and just notice, write down every single thing that you drank and ate that day and also how you felt that day. And you can really start to notice patterns in terms of what you seem to do better with, what types of food you seem to do better with. Tip number 7 is about sugars. And I'm not talking the fruit sugars now, I'm talking about isolated sugars. So sometimes people transition to a vegan diet and they start adding in a lot of, we mentioned processed foods before, but other sugars as well. They think, well, I'm not adding white sugar to my coffee anymore, so I can add agave. These other sweeteners like maple syrup, of course, use them sometimes, honey, but again, I would just be moderate. My 8th tip is about superfoods. So when you transition to a vegan diet, a lot of people are really concerned about minerals and vitamins and are they getting enough? And certainly when you're in that stage of still learning, there's a chance that you might be missing certain things. So make sure you add superfoods to your diet, as this is a really great way to cover your bases. So basically what a superfood is, if you don't know, is a food that happens to be especially concentrated in vitamins and minerals and is just gives you more bang for your buck, basically. So really great superfoods that you can add in would be things like spirulina, amazing, chlorella, so these concentrated greens, they're so mineral rich. Spirulina, chlorella, chia seeds, maca. If you want to be vegan but not like strict vegan, bee pollen is a great one in terms of B vitamins. There's all kinds of these. Goji berries are really, really great. My 9th tip is to make sure that you are consuming a source of B12. So B12 is the one food that sometimes we just don't get enough of. A lot of my clients come to me and they do seem to have an anxiety about the B12 issue. There is some vitamin B12 in foods like spirulina, in algae. There's an amazing product called E3 Live, which is a source of B12 on the vegan diet. So these algae are a source of that. If that isn't appealing to you, if it's not something that you feel you're going to be consistent with, B12 is the one thing I would suggest that you supplement with. There is whole food-based B12 supplements available through health food stores, and those you're going to have an easier time assimilating than a synthetic form. But if you have any anxiety about B12 at all and you're not drinking algae every single day and that just doesn't seem to fit with your lifestyle, or it turns you off or whatever, I would say if you're going to take one supplement, do take a B12. And again, there are some good products out there. So my last tip for transitioning towards a vegan lifestyle successfully is that you identify what your absolute favorite food is, and then find a healthy replacement or a healthier substitute. So don't allow yourself to be deprived of that one thing that you really, really love, or chances are, in an energetic way, it's not going to work out for you long term. You'll do it for a while and then you'll backslide and you'll start going crazy on that food that you've missed or whatnot. So for me, it was absolutely chocolate. So I cut out chocolate that was really rich in sugar, and I cut out chocolate obviously that had dairy in it. That was one of the hugest improvements for my overall health, was when I eliminated dairy. So I wasn't going to eat chocolate with dairy, but I did find, for example, other versions of chocolate. I eat this 89% dark raw chocolate, and it just is amazing, and it satisfies that for me, and I have a little bit probably every single day. So find a replacement for that thing that you love. It might take a little work, you might have to experiment a little bit, but definitely don't go without, or you'll probably end up not being sad. Yeah. Cool.
So thank you so much, guys.
Thanks
for
having
watching.
me.
I hope that you found this video useful, and if so, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I will also have a link to Teshia's channel in the description box down below, so please subscribe to her channel. She does Video Mondays, where she gives you healthy tips every Monday.
Nutrition and yoga. Yeah.
And I'll have her Facebook and Twitter, all that information down below as well, so please check it out. So thank you again for watching. Thank you, Teshia.
Thank you.
This was so helpful. I'm really glad we did this. I hope all of you guys are having a great day, staying warm and healthy. I love you guys, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.
Bye, guys.